Folks, welcome to Everything Pro Wrestling. Everything Pro Wrestling is a show by the fans, for the fans. And I'm your host, Conrad Cushman. And today we are joined by someone who does wrestling poetry. Not something that we get to see every day on the podcast, but I definitely think it's something worth exploring. And it's the first time ever I've met someone who does wrestling poetry. I got to give it up to my man Chris, the infamous poet, the joint roller Ayatollah, and a candy whoop ass on his shirt. Chris, how are you, sir?
How's it going? Joint roller Ayatollah here, brought to you by the papers here. You know, I'm not RVD, but I got my own papers, the joint roller Ayatollahs. So if you are going to be rolling up, roll you an Ayatollah, man, as I'm doing right now. I'm feeling real good today, man. Thank you again for having me on today.
Listen, that is not a problem. I guess most people are probably going to start wondering where you're from. But
I think a lot of people can tell by my tweets, but I'll let them know right now. I'm from the city of neighbors. You know, I'm from Buffalo, New York, East Side, as everybody's screaming right now. But yeah, man, I'm from Buffalo, down here residing in Orlando, Florida right now, as you can see in the trees back here behind me.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. I'm also from Buffalo, New York. For anybody who does not know, that's in the chat, maybe wondering. And I appreciate some of you guys. I see you in here. I see Sonny Bimbo writing 420. What's up, Sonny? Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you at this time. Foul throwing up the too sweet. Right back at you, Foul in the UK. Appreciate you, bro. Chris, man. We got a lot to talk about throughout.
Yes.
We can explore so many different avenues. And I told him before we went on air, we're kind of freestyling this. This is a different avenue. And I guess the main thing that I want to start off with is your poetry background.
Okay.
Now, growing up, I've done a lot of poetry. A lot of people who've heard me do the podcast know I used to rap. I've written poetry and people have asked, hey, can I publish this? Do you mind if I see this? What was your journey like getting into poetry?
It was kind of the same thing growing up. I didn't always grow up in Buffalo. I lived in Birmingham for some time, Birmingham, Alabama. And that's where my love, my first time I went to a studio. So kind of the same thing. Rap and poetry are kind of synonymous, right? And as one of my favorite artists, that I discovered over time was Gil Scott Herron. If I'm saying his last, everybody said their last name right, but a lot of people are saying he's the godfather of rap, but he was more so a great poet. You go back and listen to some of his stuff, and that kind of influenced me. Gil Scott was one of the first artists that I kind of remember, like my mom playing. So like, poetry has always been a part of my life, but as far as writing it, man, I can vividly just remember my time in the military, just idle time, Wale and J. Cole and Kendrick, and around that time, like in 08, 09, they were really heavy with the pen, right? They were very poetic. And I'm like, damn, yo, that's so yeah, man, I would attribute More About Nothing, the mixtape by Wale, more than anything, as my greatest influence to write. And I think I started around about 2010, 2011. And, going to progression of poetry, the love stuff, and then then you start going to the lifestyle poetry and stuff like that. And then wrestling took over, man. And I just started doing wrestling analogies is the way that I speak. So my styles is phenomenal, like Prince Devitt in his peak. You know what I mean? Like that started going like that.
I respect it, dude. It comes from a long way, and poetry is kind of a deep way and deep background. I guess before I was going to mention Lupe Fiasco a little bit here because of his poetry background. A lot of people don't know that from him coming from the Chicago. And and I don't know, man. It's very different. And you brought up some really good artists before, so I can tell we'll get along at least on the music level. What did you think of J. Cole's new album? I got to ask you now while it's kind of A hot topic.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be completely honest. When new music comes out, I do not listen to it unless it is. Okay, I have my 5 favorite artists that I will listen to anything that comes out.
Who's the starting 5?
Wes, Spitta, Larry June, Wale, and I will listen to anything right now. He moved into my top 5, Jay Worthy. That man. So right now, anything new of them is instantly being played. So with J. Cole, I listened to the first half. I like the first couple tracks. I like that he didn't have features on it. So like you have to listen to see who's on it. You can't just skip, play all the way through. I think for the most part for me, it's just rapping. You know what I mean? Like he's not from me, right? And I have to play it all the way through. He's not really moving the culture forward with anything prolific. You know what I mean? Like I go back to Born Sinner. That's prolific Cole. You know what I mean? That's one of my favorite projects of him. And I think because of the time, what he was rapping about, and again, like his hunger right now is he has nothing to prove at this point. He took some time off. He's like, I recorded some stuff. I think it's nice. I think it's nice enough to put out. And I think that's what happened. Like, I don't think nothing really moved with this project to me.
Okay. I'll save my opinions. I don't really want to influence it too much before you get the chance to get into it fully. But yeah, good taste in rap music. I definitely can appreciate all of that. Now, we talked a little bit about the poetry background and who influenced you. Let's get into the wrestling portion of it a little bit. How did pro wrestling come into your life?
Oh man, I'm 31. I'll be 32 this year. Since I was 3, 4, my grandfather. I stayed. If you're familiar with the town, I stayed on Raleigh Street, right in Cold Spring. I went to school 53, and like that was life. You know, staying with with my grandparents. You know, at the time, I used to always want to go over there and watch wrestling. So my grandfather introduced the little black box or the little brown box back in the day. He introduced the little brown box on the floor TV, and I think my first pay-per-view that I can vividly remember, Survivor Series '94. If that's Taker being taken out by and he came and the Jumbotron and shit like that, and I believe that was Survivor Series '94.
Was it his return or was it when he went away?
When he went away, I believe is when he went away.
The Rumble.
That was the Rumble then. Okay.
Yeah, that is classic. That is a very classic moment where the Undertaker got jumped. I remember some kids got their hearts broken that day.
Yes. So that wrestling has been, that for me, and it's just been, I've never been able to shake it. Just never, even my time in the military, things like that where, I think the high spot for people in wrestling is when I took off. 06, 07, 08, 09, 2010, those 4 to 5 years, I wasn't involved. So I had to do a lot of deep diving when I got back into it around 2011.
If you ask me, you didn't miss too much, but I digress though. But that was a different time. I fell off from like 05 to 07. I watched it all the time still, but I wasn't into it like I used to be. Connor McCabe has joined us. What's going on? Connor's got a question, so we're going to throw this in here. Connor, make sure you guys show Connor some love. He's been covering some sports on Shooting the Sports-ish. Let him know you got a free plug out of me, Connor. It says, hey, fellas, I got a quick question for you. A fan of modern rap that's more auto-tune or old school. Which rap tells a story and is more poetic with the flow? You're the expert, so I'm gonna kick it to you.
I think as far as it all depends, like, right? So if you have a new school artist who pays attention to the old school stuff and who kind of pays attention to his craft, I would say that you can get a lot of new school people that can tell stories and be more poetic, I should say. But I mean, the answer is always going to be your old school flow, right? If you want to talk about, Slick Rick or Rakim or Eric B, or if you want to talk about even Jay-Z and DMX, rest in peace, God bless the dead, Nas, those particular rappers were telling stories. Those were a little like even Jay-Z for a long time. I didn't get it until I started writing poetry. I'm like, this nigga's never on beat. Like he's never rapping on beat. He never, but you know what I mean. But Jay-Z, he's the GOAT, and he's the GOAT because he's one of the best pens and one of the best poets of all time.
Yeah, Jay-Z is someone different. The rumor for Jay-Z is that he does not go and listen to the beat. Like when I used to write hip hop, I should say used to. You would listen to the beat, and then I would write to the beat and play to it. Like, okay, this sounds like a beat that I would listen to in the club, or this is what I would listen to when I'm riding in the car. Here's the story I want to tell with it. Boop, 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 and I write to that.
Correct.
Jay-Z has this stuff already in his head, and he's just like, turn it on, and I'm gonna do this right now. And like he tries to do it in 1 to 2 to 3 takes, and he's done, and that's it. It's a hustle for him. And Connor, I think when you talk about old school, who's more poetic with the flow, I think it just depends on the artist and what you like, man.
Correct.
I don't down the new school for a lot of their stuff. I mean, I don't listen to a lot of it either, like I used to. But I definitely can appreciate what a lot of these cats are doing. Like I said, some of the best rappers are out right now who could end up being in the top 10 later on. Like, great status for it. Let me see here. Sonny Bimbo, it always seems that people are passionate about what they do are usually Capricorns. I don't know if he's asking your sign or what, but
I'm a Virgo, man, but I got mad love for Capricorns. It's a lot of Capricorns in my circle. A lot of January babies that you know what I mean, and late December baby, early January babies that are in my real life tight circle. But no, I'm a Virgo, man. I'm a Virgo.
Like Dougie Fresh.
Couple.
Let's see here. Kev, what's good, Kev? I see you in the chat saying you, and now I see you've checked in on the YouTube. I appreciate you, bro, coming in here. Kev, former NBA 2K League player, so I got to show my boy some love.
Oh, I know I can't put no money on the line with him, man. I know that much.
It's a stick up, bro. Don't fall for it. It's a lick to him. He's just trying to get his money, bro. But so we were talking about pro wrestling and getting into it, mixing it with the poetry. Now you said 94 was your first wrestling event that you can remember and getting into it. Who was the first superstar that you felt like you could latch on to and you could like vicariously live through?
Sean, I think this is the contention to a lot of my art. Like, so I got for everybody. I am a co-host of Reasonable Wrestling Podcast with my brother Chidi CT, aka Chidi Bang, and he's a Brett fan. I'm a Sean fan, and that makes for one of the greatest podcasts I think we got. You know what I mean? Like, I think that makes the greatest wrestling podcast because that was the very first wrestler that WrestleMania 12 was my first WrestleMania party. My mom got it, and that's when we upgraded from the brown box to the black box. You know what I mean? For everybody that know, the brown box and the black box are two different boxes. You know what I mean?
I know nothing about any of these activities happening on this podcast or on that side of the screen. I know nothing. All right.
Listen, man, WWE gets enough money out of me. I done pirated a lot in the back, you know what I mean? So, but WrestleMania 12, Iron Man match, Sean wins it. Then the formation of DX got me suspended ISS so many times. I mean, like, oh my gosh. Telling the teacher to suck it was damn near like spitting on a flag. I can tell you that. Like, it was like national news around the country. Kids were telling teachers, parents, and authorities to suck it. You know what I mean? So Sean was my very first wrestler that I can just gravitate to.
Yeah, we came from a different culture. I can tell you this. I remember back then you would have like the leagues and stuff. You would play around, wrestle with your friends and stuff. You would draw pictures like the NWO. And I remember one of the nuns, I went to Catholic school, and one of the nuns saw and thought I was in a gang. And they were like, what is this? And they were holding up and all the kids were like, yeah, yeah. I was a recruiter or something. And I was like, no, it's wrestling. It's wrestling.
Oh, man, that's good stuff.
So Interesting. So when you look back at WrestleMania 12, do you consider it an overrated match like many others do today? Like some people look back at it now, they're like, this match is kind of overrated because it went 60 minutes and they just did nothing but rest holds and it was kind of boring until you get up to the last 5 minutes. And an Iron Man match is hard for wrestlers to sell. I get it completely. From knowing their background, what they have to do, they have to work really hard in it to get people invested, and hopefully they're still invested when you get to the last 5 to 10 minutes. What are your thoughts on that match?
That's the thing for me, right? So I come from a very pragmatic, thought process, right? And again, that this goes for a great contention I has on our podcast between me and Chidi, is that I am more of a person of what they gave me is what they gave me. Now, could they have done things differently? Sure. So I look back at that match, and I'm not going to be the one that's going to go back and kill it. It's an absolute, for what they were supposed to do, and what they did do and what they were supposed to transcribe, they nailed it, right? It was supposed to be two of the absolute best wrestlers who have wrestled so many times previously before then, culminating and at that time, right, in wrestling, unless you're getting Hogan and Flair, right, the biggest match that you can possibly have in 96, WrestleMania 12, 96, right? The biggest match that you can have was Bret Hart, who was on the fucking Simpsons, right? And then Shawn Michaels, who was then a transcending superstar. So I think to me that match is I'm not really for hyperbolic statements, right? That match was really good it stands the test of time. Now, is it Brock Angle SmackDown? I'm gonna say it's better just because commercial breaks. You know what I mean? Like you can go on the net right now and watch that match, and the breaks that you have in between that match takes you out of that match. You know what I mean? Like seeing it straight through, seeing the match go straight. I think it did what it was supposed to do. It's a great match. It stands still.
I can respect what you're saying here. Big shout out in the chat. My mod Ace has joined us once again. Ace, thank you so much. Jocelyn, I see you over on the Twitch side of things, checking us out. Appreciate you. And if you guys are enjoying this video, don't forget to hit the like button for us. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and then also check it out down below. We've got links for everything that Chris does, so make sure you show him some love to his. He's got his apparel. You can get that fine can of whoop ass shirt.
Yeah, yo. So, if everybody remember earlier in the year, the dude got slapped with the twisted T. You know what I mean? He got slapped with the twisted T. So, can of whoop ass. Everything is wrestling. Thank you for shouting out the brand. EIWshop.com. That's where you can get the shirt. You can pick up a pack of papers. I got rice and hemp papers. Like I say, everything is wrestling. Let me get this camera right. Joint roller Ayatollahs, you know what I mean? And that name even came from Finn and Jericho. So, you know what I mean? Like that, everything's wrestling, man.
It is. And I respect that you put over the brand. And if you guys like our shirts too, you can go to our store as well. We're on whatforapparel.com, and you guys can get our stuff from TeePublic. If you guys like the EPW shirt with the ECW logo status, make sure you guys check it out. Original Biggie has now joined us as well. What is going on, Obi-Wan? Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm good. I believe Chris is good too. So thank you for joining us.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Now, Ace came in with a question before. I was holding off on it because you were answering before. He wants to know who's your favorite wrestler from all of the following promotions.
All right.
WWE, Ring of Honor, MLW, New Japan, NWA, Impact. So who's rocking it in each company right now to you?
All right, leave that up real quick because we smoking and I'm high. Well, I'm smoking and I'm high. All right, so WWE right now, I think, that's the main, that's what we cover. On our pod, we cover WWE and majority of some of AEW. So as far as watching and spending diligent enough of time paying attention to it, I won't lie to you and give you those reasons. So favorite wrestler just off rip for the promotions that I don't watch. MLW. I used to work there. I love you, Court. fuck you, Court. My favorite wrestler there right now is Jacob Fatu. Jacob is absolutely the man. He is. I remember working there and them bringing him in, and we was like, he can go elsewhere. So that was a really good signing for them. That was a really good move for them. I really like his story. I like his 2-year run of champion. I just went back and watched him and Calvin Tankman just because I wanted to see two big horses beat the shit out of each other. You know what I mean? Like that. He's really good, man. He is really, really good.
Beast.
New Japan. They started off the year hot. My favorite wrestler there is Kota Ibushi, and it's just because I seen him live at the ROH Supercard in New York City in 2019. So I saw that Intercontinental Championship match live, and he's just so good, man. He's so good. That match with Cedric a couple years ago in the CWC. I do think if Kota goes to WWE, Kenny goes to WWE. So that's just my hot take there. So Kota not going there spares a whole nother company. Speaking of that company, AEW, my favorite wrestlers will be Death Triangle. Pac is just phenomenal. The absolute one of the pre-mill workers, I think, of all time. I think we can say that, right? We can say his maturation from being known as a junior or a light heavyweight or a cruiser or whatever you want to put him at. He can hold any major title if you put it on him. He can hold any big time title. And Phoenix, Penta, those my guys, man. That goes back to MLW, and I had to pick them up from the airport, and I didn't know who they were because they didn't have their mask on clearly. So I had to be like, wrestlers. I'm picking up wrestlers, and them been my guys ever since. So Death Triangle and AEW, Impact. It was Tessa. Tessa was doing some really good stuff until that other stuff came about. So I'm gonna say Rich, man, Rich Swann. He is just a phenomenal worker, man, and to know where he came from, to know what he went through. I also saw him at For the Culture this past year at and Tampa, and against Scorpio, Tuco Scorpio, and he said it was his first match in front of a live crowd in 2 years since he ripped his knee up. So to be a part of that, to see that, and just to know where he came from and what he went through, Rich is my favorite in Impact. NWA. That's tough. I don't really watch a lot of NWA. My favorite wrestler there was Ricky Starks. Ricky, I thought Ricky could have and should have won the title there. And then that would have solidified NWA as making new people and things of that nature. But Ricky went and got the bag. So shout out to Ricky. Hope he gets well too, that neck. So NWA, Ricky was there. Somebody got to fill that void to make you come watch that show. Eddie Kingston left, right? He was there to make you watch that show. So they got to find somebody to make them watch it. And so now we get to the big dog, WWE. I would say it was Sasha because of what she did during the pandemic. Because I do believe, her, Bailey, Asuka, they were really kind of the focal point, right? They were really holding those shows together. I know a lot of people will complain about Raw. Go ahead.
Carrying, bro. That's all.
I mean, just backpacking it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just strap it on me. But right now, my favorite wrestler right now is Bianca, man. She can't miss. She cannot. She is she's everything that I'm gonna keep it a buck. Here I am. This is me. This is what you'll get on the podcast. She's everything that people say Charlotte is. You know what I mean? If you give Bianca what they give Charlotte, she will be, without a doubt, the greatest female wrestler of all time.
She's got everything that Vince looks for too. A lot of people forget that, and I think sometimes I see it. And I know a lot of people are the first ones to jump on Vince McMahon doesn't like African Americans because of how he books them. Now, does he book some silly ass gimmicks? 110%. Wrestling books some terrible gimmicks sometimes for African American people, but and I shouldn't even say African American for people who are not from the United States. But I will say this. When you have all the tools that Vince McMahon wants, isn't it funny how you don't get that gimmick?
Look at Bobby.
Bobby Lashley.
I just said it. Look at Bobby.
He's an athlete. Bianca Belair falls into that same category. Ahmed Johnson wasn't given a stupid gimmick. Vince believed in him, I think, at one point and thought that could be my guy. I'm telling you. So just peep how they book people and where they see you. Sometimes you have to start off as a joke and then make it to that level, but
speaking of that, and that's why the show is called Reasonable Wrestling. So you got to have reason when you talk about it. A lot of people don't have nuance when they have conversations about wrestling because of subjectivity, right? Everybody, this is my opinion. This is what I think. That's fine. But let's have a conversation about it. I love what you said right there about that because that's what we say about in our podcast. Like we be paying attention. Vince has a type. Trips has a type. Sean has a type. You pay attention to see who's getting booked and who's strong, and you can see those types. Reina Gonzalez and Mercedes Reina Gonzalez is a Triple H type. Rhea Ripley is a Triple H type woman. You know, you look at China, you look at those two, you can see the parallel. You can see why he likes those women because they are his type. You look at down with the Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly. Those are all Sean's guys. Those are all Sean's players. You know what I mean? Workers. You know what I mean? Like, so you and then you go, like you say, look at Vince. It's not even just African American, man. If you got some, look at Braun. Braun did exactly what the fuck Vince told him to do, and guess where Braun is back at the top, because he's never going to not want somebody who's larger than life. His company is built on people larger than life. Bianca, larger than life. I think right now we're seeing the push of Bobby, larger than life, because again, the juncture, like you say, the culture, the society is like, hey, Vince pays attention. Vince knows. And Vince is like, if you give me somebody, I'll show you. Okay, I'm not just gonna do it with anybody. I did it with Kofi. I didn't really want to do it with Kofi, but I did it just to let you know that I can still do it and I can do it with anybody. But if you give me somebody that is for me, they'll be gold, and you'll see it right now. It's Bobby and Bianca.
I think Kofi was the type. See, to me, based on what your situation is, there's a way to get out of it with Vince, and you just have to figure out how do I get out of it. And some people, it's a hell of a wall to climb. Zack Ryder's got a hell of a wall to climb, but then you look at Kofi. I think Kofi Kingston did exactly. He had the best accident happen to him where he got plugged into something and people just rallied behind him, and then they slowly told that story perfectly at WrestleMania 35 with Daniel Bryan. And it's always funny too how they like incorporate the race thing into it. I think I brought this up back then. If not, I apologize. But when I see it, it's so funny when they do the people like you. They don't specifically say it, but they want you to think it in your head. Like, what do you mean by that?
And honestly, like we can't run, they can't run from it, right? You look at the history, you look at the numbers. Kofi was so important, so amazing, so emotional because they went damn near 50 years, right? As a certified, that company's been 70 years, and they have 2 black champions, 3 now. Right, you see the mural now, and people, kids walk by, and it's the 3 black faces. Kofi was that important, and that's significant for that reason. So when you get those in that promo, that's Vince knowing. You know what I mean? That's Vince knowing. And could have there been other people come along the way? Yes. Are we going to disparage him and get after him? I think we've done that, right? When the time has come for us to get behind things, and that goes to my other point. For people to say that Vince doesn't listen, to see that WWE doesn't, they don't have a post, finger on a pulse, they just did it. They just did it. Like you say, they fell into something and they went with it. Now, you complain about them not doing that very often, and they did it. They did it with Becky. right? They did it with Kofi. They did it with DB about 7 years. Like, they have a recent history of caving in and giving us what we want while also getting what the billionaire wants, right?
You can't win every single time in what you want in that category. I was a big proponent to letting Sasha and Bianca Belair main event, and I'm glad that got to happen. Now I know we touched on all of these companies. Did you get Ring of Honor? Did you have a favorite from Ring of Honor?
Oh, Gresham.
Okay.
Gresham.
Right.
I want to see Daniel Bryan and Gresham. If Daniel leaves the E, that is I will pay money to see that.
It'll be Bryan Danielson. They got to wear the same tights, the red tights for the pure title too. It's got to be a pure match. I'm telling you, that could be so good.
If you talk about the tights, he got to come out in a robe too. It just got to be full on American Dragon.
He's got to have the music too, but we don't want any copyright strikes, so we can't say that.
Man, Daniel made enough money, man. He can pay that ticket. If not, Brie can. Brie got the bag.
Or if not, Big Money Tony Khan's got it. He's buying songs left and right. I turned on Dynamite last week, and I heard Wild Thing, and I'm like, bro, is my TV broken? I thought it was a baseball game on the audio. I'm like, did they do the NBA audio again? I'm like, oh, he bought another song. Here we go. Go ahead, Tony.
I mean, when your dad owns the Jags, you can pretty much do what you want, man.
Yeah, I'm broke. I don't have that kind of money.
The checks literally write themselves, man.
We can keep dreaming. Original Biggie is talking about Lashley is on a roll right now. I can 100% agree with that, and I've been a big proponent of being behind him. And when we were talking about champions too, from different races, cultures, and stuff, this isn't over. There's going to be plenty more champions. I do believe we're going to see people like Big E become the champion. That is someone who I'm really looking forward to, and I hope that they go with that. I think he's the guy who could beat Roman Reigns, and they're doing such a good job with Roman right now. For everybody who's the Roman Reigns haters, I'm looking at all of them laughing like, I told you.
I'm not going to front though. I was one of Roman's detesters because how they booked him, right? It just wasn't compelling. You know what I mean? I went to Full Sail, you know what I mean? I went to Full Sail for a cup of coffee, and I went for film and, film and creative writing and shit like that. And that was the reason why I went, because I wanted to write for WWE. And, he wasn't compelling, man, and this is compelling. Shout out to Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is one of the best and one of the greatest wrestling minds, and you can tell wherever he's at. Look at Raw. Look at Raw when Paul was there and Eric Bischoff was on SmackDown, and then now look at SmackDown when Paul is there and Bruce is on Raw. I think look at SmackDown now with Paul is there, and then Raw with Bruce is there. You see the distinct difference in how the influence of writing and how the influence of storyline and compelling wrestling goes a long way when that guy is there. So Roman's having his best run, and I think it's because of Paul Heyman.
All right. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this next question. You brought up MLW before, and you used to work for MLW. You got to share a little bit with us now.
Oh man, I love. That was my first. I love MLW. That was my first implementation into wrestling, right? Where I wasn't just some guy observing. I did intern work with them, and did, ring crew and staging, and I was a runner, cable runner, and then end up being a low-key producer, low-key editor for the show. They was doing shows out of Guilt nightclub down here in Orlando, and Alex Greeny was Bruce Pritchard was one of the lead producers there. They were lead producers there, and I was their assistant producer. I was a production assistant, things just went sour because I'm a grown ass man. I'm gonna say what I want to say, and Court was like, "You don't say that to the boss," or so, to that effect. And I'm like, all my tweets reflect me. You know what I mean? Like, and then that had a little, but I loved it there. I was there at the very beginning when they got back on TV, when they got their TV deal with us, BN Sports. That was me down there when Swerve Desmond Xavier and MVP and Sammy Callahan and Darby Allin, MJF. A lot of TV guys were at MLW, and I rubbed some Matt Riddle, and I rubbed shoulders with him, man. So I love MLW.
Original Biggie coming in with the question. What do you think of Biggie and a Bobby Lashley feud if booking is on point? So could that happen in your mind? Would you like to see something like that? Like if they book it right?
I honestly, the only way that would happen, right, is, and this is us now. So we have a segment on our show called Booking Black, right? Every week, every show, we book a black superstar. So if we were doing Booking Black, then we would have to go full out and we say, okay, Biggie got drafted to Raw, right? Biggie got drafted to Raw, came to join his New Day Brethrens. After Kofi loses this feud to Bobby, and then Biggie not coming like for the save, but I wouldn't do Biggie and Bobby, even though that was slap. I really want Biggie and Roman, like you say. I think done correctly, this is Biggie's most detached from New Day signs of Big E Langford that we've seen in a long time. And again, that goes back to Paul. So I will only trust Big E and Bobby if Paul is on the pin. And since Paul is over on SmackDown, then the booking that I would love to see is Big E and Roman. I think that would be a great house match.
You could do a lot with it. And like I said, I still think the big money original Biggie is in the Big E and Roman Reigns feud. Here's why. Because eventually Biggie's going to look, we know the Usos are going to join Roman. I don't know when it's going to be finally solidified, but Jimmy's going to come around. He's going to help him. And then you'll have 3-on-1. Who's going to come help Big E? The New Day story is that they all always stick together. It'll be a mistake if they ever break these three up, like on someone turned heel on somebody. You can't do that with these three. And I think once they come to make the save, it'll be a glorious day for Big E if they can do this right and put it all together.
So you think the pop happens if by New Day going on Fridays?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think it could happen by then. You could do a switch. Like I said, I'm right now, if I'm booking this, you have to book. This could be a little bit of hard times for Big E where people are going to complain, and then you got to book him to win the Rumble. That's the next move, in my opinion. You got the IC belt off him. He didn't even need that, truthfully. But now it's time to book him to win the Rumble, in my opinion.
I'm going to tell you this now. If they have Roman E., Usos, New Day, Street Profits, Bianca, Becky, SmackDown will be one of the greatest shows in like the last. I'm not even no hyperbole. I would say if they don't do that right in the last decade, if they can book all three of those feuds to matter.
Yes. Yeah, and we still got some people who need to come back. Like I said, there's a lot of good things happening on SmackDown right now, and that's good. But let's get back to you. Let's get back to talking about the poetry and getting into that, man. Outside of the wrestling poetry, who are some of your, I guess, poetic influences, whether it's musically inclined or wherever? Is there someone that really speaks to you and defines you when you're looking for poetry or you're looking for inspiration? Is there someone that just gets you?
My cousin right now, Jillian Hainsworth. Let me get her situation going on. She's from Buffalo as well, man, and she's inspired me a ton. As far as what she has, she did a poetry book, and it was something that I've been looking forward to doing myself. You know what I mean? So her Instagram is poet_Jillian_Hainsworth. And she's the first poet laureate of Buffalo, New York. You know what I mean? So there hasn't been one before her. So she has been an inspiration to me as far as poetry. Now, as far as musical, I'm always inspired just by whatever I'm listening to. So like Spitter, like I said, Currency, just his beat selection. gets me there. Larry June is another person, and Bodie James, another rapper that and is slowly creeping up into my, I have to listen to if he drop. Is a new age Royce the Five for me, Royce the 5'9", because again, Royce was a poet. Royce speaks on the beat. He doesn't necessarily rap. He kind of just flows with it. And Bodie's one of those guys, like I can hear him rap and I'm like, man, he's nice. And he'll put me in a zone where I might just freestyle, jot down something in a notepad. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm inspired by, more than likely, if I hear something, I freestyle. That's how most of my poems come about. If I hear a beat and I'm in a groove, I'm walking the dogs, I'm on a bike ride or something like that, I'm smoking or something like that. If I freestyle it and it get me, I write it and then I'll just flush it out.
Man, have you ever had one of those good ideas just leave your head and then it bothered you for so long?
All the time, bruh. All the time. I'm like, oh my God, what was that? That's not it. It's all the time, man.
And you're sitting there trying to remind yourself of what happened. You'll forget and forget and forget. And sometimes it'll come back, but other times you're like, dang, man, I really wish I could remember what I was going to say at that moment in time.
You never get it exactly how you got it the first time if you don't get it. That's how I ended up keeping a recorder on me. You know what I mean? Like I keep a recorder on me at all times. So if I'm in a zone, I'll just hit record and then I'll even mumble and whatever, and I have to go back and edit later. But I've learned, because in the car, everything, man, I've lost more than I've done. And I've done like at least close to, I don't know, probably about 200 to 300 poems maybe.
I feel you, man. This is why one of the greatest inventions for people who are creativity and all that stuff, it's a great tool to use and take advantage of. I want to get into you about heroes a little bit too. Now, who are some of your biggest influences just in your life in general? Like, it could be anybody from personal family members, athletes. Like, who did you grow up looking up to?
I'm gonna keep it honest. Kobe Bean was my favorite player. He kind of, yeah, man, that tore me. Another RIP. I won't say hero. I mean, the thing, people that influence Nipsey. You know what I mean? Another, just like you say, you see the growth and the maturation. You grow with these people. You kind of grow with their story. You grow with them, and you're growing with them. You know what I mean? And I would say, as far as that that Mamba mentality thing, kind of incorporates the Marine Corps stuff in me. You know what I mean? I served, and they are adapt and overcome. You know what I mean? Like that's our motto. So that kind of mixing with the Mamba mentality, where Mamba, he plays and scores 35 with a broken finger because he has to adapt and overcome. So I'm like, yeah, that's that shit. You know what I mean? So but right now, man, I'll say my son here and my son on the way, you know what I mean? They changed me a lot in the last 3 years. Just getting to it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that I kind of still look back on, like you say, regretful, and like I didn't do, but they push me every day to continuously do things better, learn better. Kind of, I still make mistakes here and there, but like, yeah, man, I'm influenced by my kids, man.
That's a good thing to always have backing you, though. Kids, life in general. The thing that I really liked from that Kobe Bryant speech, I was just thinking about one of the lines that his wife has said, and then she was like, you could take off tonight. I mean, you're already in the playoffs or whatever. And he was like, well, what about the people who paid to see me play? They'll see you play again or whatever. And she was like, well, what about the kid who paid all of his money and he can only get to see me one time? And I was like, dang, that's an entertainer. That's somebody that you want to be the face of your organization if you're the NBA. And I know sometimes people don't like some of the cats in sports, whoever's the face of it, because their mentalities may seem wrong to you. Like Kobe wasn't always my favorite person. Like if I go back to 8th grade, the Lakers used to hurt my soul. I'm like, we got to get these dudes out of here, bro. They're dominating. Like nobody's going to get to shine with that crew. and they did a great job dominating. But Kobe Bryant, that Mamba mentality is real, bro. This dude is someone who's here to strike you down. He reminded me of Jordan. He was like, I'm coming for it all, and I'm going to take it all. And if you're not working just as hard as me, I'll dismiss you.
And then that's the evolution of it, right? You look at those who've kind of been blessed or deemed with the Mamba mentality, and look at those who take that mantle. Russell Westbrook, right? He's another person who does not take a night off. Damian Lillard, another person who does not take a night off. And like you say, their mentality is, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to perform. You know what I mean? And that goes back to wrestling too, right? Sometimes you can have a dog-ass match. And then sometimes you're like, man, I got to perform. You know what I mean? And that's when I take my creative, that's when I stop being a podcaster, right? That's when I stop being a film critic or stuff like that. And I just pay attention to the performance. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like that pandemic time, bro, I do not know how any of them did it, right? Going back WrestleMania 36, Jimmy tore his knee up in that match. You go back and he tore his knee up in that match. Bruh, he got through that with no crowd support. Like, how do you just gut that out and finish? Like, man, so listen, man, those who have that about them, that's why I think I love wrestling too, because there isn't another art form like it. There aren't many people like them. You know what I mean? So, you do pay attention and you do value and admire what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're modern day superheroes. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about this, relating kind of back to poetry and wrestling. Theme songs. What are some of your favorite theme songs? Like, is it the lyrics for you? Are you going to name some that are instrumentals? Like, what is it for you when it comes to wrestling theme songs? Like, yeah, this slaps.
I'm an instrumental guy. I don't really know too many wrestling theme lyrics. Like my man Chidi, I love, my nigga would come and drop some lyrics, and I'm like, you know that song? Like, yeah, man. Yeah, don't everybody? Oh no, all wrestling fans? And I'm like, I guess I'm not one of those, but Batista's. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Xavier Woods, when that joint come on, you gotta Rocky, when Rock came back and had the Hollywood drum.
Is that you with the ice cream man?
That is me with the ice cream man.
It was perfect on time when we started talking about music.
Yeah. Actually, that's one of the best songs of all time. You knew what time it was when you heard that song. You know what I mean? Is you get your ice cream and get your ass in the house. Those were two type priorities that you had. You know what I mean? Like I was saying, Rocks, when he came back from Hollywood, when he did the Hollywood run and he went to heel and he add that extra drum, if you smell, that's fire. Of course, classic DX stuff. Roman's new music.
It's a little. I was just working out before we started doing this, and I was listening to that song. It was the only wrestling song I think I played. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. Listen to some Monteezy and whatever Cody Rhodes theme was.
Shout out to Teezy, the intro god. But we talking about the intro god, Shinsuke.
Yes.
I was in Brooklyn. I went to Shinsuke and Bobby Roode. I mean, they wrestled against each other. I mean, I think those were two back-to-back match. No, they didn't wrestle. It was Shinsuke and Bobby.
I think they had two matches. They wrestled at TakeOver Orlando because I was there for that one when they did the song for Nakamura because they knew he was about to go to the main roster.
Yeah.
I was there for that. That joint was dope. Not gonna front, man.
Yeah, so those are modern day joints, man. But that's actually one of my goals. One of my goals is to. I'm not a big fan of new wrestler theme songs. Listen, I think AEW is actually doing some really good stuff.
Big shout out to Ruckus, man. That's
one of my goals is to actually do theme music, do wrestling thing. Hollywood Rock. See, he knew it, my man. We already know. We here.
It's cooking. Man. We didn't get enough Hollywood Rock.
Oh, we will. We
I'd be
will though.
remiss if I didn't shout out my boy here. I got a shirt hanging on the side. My man, Rated R. I don't know if you're familiar with him. If not, I got to link you boys. He does Top Flight's theme song in AEW. I got to show him some love too. He's been on the podcast doing the same interview you are.
He's one of the guys that I actually, honestly, in this realm, Rated R, Josiah, Montezi, Mega Ran, Ruckus. Those are the guys that I'm always paying attention to. Smoke Dizza, he's wrestle rap. Those are always the guys that I'm listening to when it comes to this, and I'm sharpening my tool every time I hear them.
And Wale stands up there too. I mean, Wale going off the Razor Ramon beat. If you have never heard what I'm talking about, you need to plug that in as soon as this podcast ends and just type in Wale Razor Ramon beat.
Go ahead, hop off. Me and my crew pop off. Yeah, come on, man. Wale. Yeah.
I'm like the young McMahon. I'm here to get your bitch off. Ooh, like I'm Ric Flair. Man, he's just a beast, bro. Listen to the whole thing though. It's a great freestyle. I just remember so many people rapping off of like the wrestling beats. I can remember when I think it wasn't Dipset. I think it was the Senate. I want to say, if not, it was one of their like minor groups underneath Dipset that rapped off of Goldust beat one time, and I was like, man, Goldust beat goes hard. You could definitely rap off.
Oh, Flatbush Zombies and Smoke. Go listen to Smoke Dizza's Ringsides. He got 6 editions. Every WrestleMania, I think 7 now. He's been doing Ringsides. It's like a little EP of like 4 or 5 joints, and he raps off of wrestling theme songs. 183rd produces it. Man, they are fire. They are fire. So those like you say that because he rapped off the Cody Rhodes joint.
Oh, you have to send me a link to this because I'm a big fan, man, of a lot of that stuff. And you know what? We talked about Teasy and everybody else. There's one more person we got to shout out, I think. And I think it's Isaiah Swerve Scott, man. We got to show him some love, man. Big shout out to the Hit Row stuff that he's doing tonight on NXT. If you didn't see it last week, I'm sure they'll show you a million highlights of it. But I'm really happy for him because he's someone who I thought was very underutilized since he first came in. And I like that he went with this cocky, swag-oriented attitude. And when they put him in the studio and he was cutting those promos, he's in his element. He knows that's where he belongs. And him and Teasy, when they team up to do songs, I absolutely love it, bro. Like, Broke Boys is my favorite song that they've ever done. I don't care what anybody says. And I know Big Swole's on the hook. A lot of you don't know that, too. But Big Swole's on the hook for that. And that joint just...
might be broke, and it's okay. But I did I did video I did a video for both of them. I did video for I'm the Man. I was there. They needed some help with some video production stuff. So shout out to their whole crew, that whole Swerve City podcast crew. They needed some help, and I was happy to come through and fall through and help them out with that. And then also the Starship, come along, take it right.
Yes.
Starship Enterprise, I think it is. I was there for that video shoot as well, man. And I'm so happy. I was, again, Swerve, MLW. That's where we first linked up. That's where we first met. I would hold his title, give him the title before he go out. I was shooting his single shots as he walked to the ring. Like that. I was there when he came in pre-show one time, and he was like, yeah, man, me and TZ got the podcast equipment. So to see that go on the network, and then now, like you say, the Hit Row shit is really him. Like, we talk about the people that transcend and people that connect and gravitate. That's why the Hurt Business was so successful. You see Swerve, you see Hit Row, you see that group, you like, that's go time for them. That's go time for them. And I'm glad. I'm just happy NXT is showing some love to hip hop, because I was tired of Poppy. I'm gonna tell you that now, man. I was tired of.
You know what? I think wrestling's a really great mix, though, for a lot of music. Like, I told people in the past, I've done hip hop music, but my main focus, like, really, I can listen to anything and usually find, like, okay, I see why people like this. I can see why people are getting into this. So I can get down with a little rock. I listen to country. I tell people all the time, country and rap are the same thing. Honky Tonk, Badunka Dunk, and Back That Ass Up are the same song. I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me different. It's the same thing. Florida Georgia Line are sitting on the porch wearing their chains too, talking the same thing that rappers do. It just said a little bit different. It's all the same, bro. Right? So
it's just like I tweeted as a joke. Black people sing Judas too, my guy. You know what I mean? Like,
if I could pull up my brother-in-law right now. So I have two brother-in-laws. One doesn't like the song, and the other one was blasting it on his way home from work. He was jamming to it like Judas. He was like, I can't wait till we go to AEW. I'm gonna sing this joint hard.
Yo, that's what Bomani be saying. Hashtag two Americas. You know what I mean? You got two Americans right there, man. But yeah, that and I saw it in the little pop-up screen. Jericho has a classic, like you say, interest music. Break the wall, doom 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 doom. That train is man, that's a slapper, man. Classic, man. So yeah, wrestling got some, and that's why I say, bringing up the influences and like you say, TZ and Rated R and Josiah. I got really, really inspired when I saw Josiah do what he did, because I'm like, damn, that nigga jumped the gun on me, but he raps, you know what I mean? And that was one thing I never wanted out. I was always self-conscious because I did not want to be a rapper. I felt like you talk about podcasting being oversaturated. I thought being a rapper was oversaturated. I didn't want to follow the crowd. I didn't want to. I didn't want to, but all my stuff comes from rap. You know what I mean? Like everything, I'm influenced by rap. Even the way that I construct bars and words and stanzas. You know what I mean? It's kind of in a flow of like I'm rapping. But I wanted to be a poet, man. I wanted to be Lanny Poffo. I wanted to be a wrestling laureate. You know what I mean? Like you say, TZ gave me the battery in my back, and he was like, yo, nobody's doing what you're doing, man. Like, there's not a wrestling poet out there. So go with your gift. And I'm like, shit, my gift, I got like 15 poems already in the stash. I'm about to do a wrestle rap EV. You know what I mean? Like, so with that, like, I'm encouraged now. So that's the reason why I'm in it now.
Right. It's always important to figure out how you want to expand yourself. Now, normally I do a little bit of a wordplay game with people towards the end of the show. I say some names, you give a thought or two about it, maybe one word answer, whatever. I don't know if you're down for this, but I can throw a couple at you real quick.
All right, I'm about it.
All right, here we go. The $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase.
One of the best.
Okay, all right. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
The best. That's my first gimmick name. Mr. Perfect 89 was my gimmick name. He's the greatest.
Okay. Bobby the Brain Heenan.
I have a jacket with Mr. Perfect on it because I'm influenced by those two so much. It has infamous poet and the embroidered gold lettering. Damn, I should go grab it real quick. But nah, man, that's my shit, man. I am gonna grab it. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna grab it after we wrap this up. I'm gonna grab the jacket so you can see it.
Yeah, at least I get to see it.
Yeah.
My next one for you is Buffalo, New York.
Home, man. Home is where the heart is, and I'm so happy that the shine and the love and the gifts of my friends. I have some really great, talented friends. Being able to get the spotlight on them, man. I'm so happy for that.
Langston Hughes.
My first poetic book report. My first book report as a poet. I think I did that like second grade. I still remember it. You know what I mean? Legend maker. I'm sorry. A waymaker as a poet. You know what I mean? A legend as a waymaker. Like he gave what I can see myself because he was that. You know what I mean?
All right, Tupac.
Not that much of a fan. Hot take.
I was interested to see if you ever saw like the poetry books that he had, because he wrote poetry very differently.
Yes. That is my mom actually had it and she showed it to me. So that's the fan of who that is. I look at Pac and then I look at DMX, and DMX is my Pac.
Okay, all right. I guess the next one will be, I'll throw DMX out there. Go ahead. We'll put DMX in there.
Nah, that was that. You know, I was gonna. If you would have said it, I would have said my Pac. You know what I mean? Like he allowed gangsters to be emotional, and then that opened the door for everything. You know, that you can be street, you can be tough, you can be gangster, you can be gutter, you can be a whatever adjective you want to, and still be in tune with your emotions. And he allowed a lot of people to be who they are today.
Finn Balor is my last one.
Do you love me? Or something like that? Do you love me? That's why you gave him to me? Finn Balor is
I do my research.
He's the Renaissance man. All right? He is the absolute. There's no AEW. There's no All Elite. There's no Young Bucks. There's no Cleaner. There's no. There is none of this if Fergal does not take Bad Luck Fale and Tamatonga and Machine Gun Kelly. Oh, I'm Machine Gun Kelly. Jesus Christ. I mean, he might as well be Machine Gun Kelly at this point. Machine Gun Carl Anderson and start the Bullet Club. Finn Balor needs to be recognized as the most influential wrestler in the last 20 years.
I can respect it. As we're getting ready to wrap up the podcast, I thank everybody who popped in and joined us. Rockstar, I didn't give you your shout out. I know I put your name up on there, but thank you so much. And B-Boy Skyline, I know I mentioned the Tupac book. I know I borrowed yours first for a long time, so thank you. Because I know you'll come on the comments and try to dog me, so I got to make sure I give you your credit.
Shout out poetry books too. I'm sorry, Scotland Norwood from the Black Guy Wrestling Podcast. He's I bought both of his poetry books, so go ahead and follow Black BG Dub Podcast. I think he's one of the joints from the joint, and then you can follow him through there. Since we talk about poetry, that's my guy, man. Love to him.
This is a perfect segue for you. Plug all your stuff. It's down below, but plug it.
Man, like I said, man, you can follow. You can cop some papers at eiwshop.com. You can check us out. Like I said, I got the Reasonable Wrestling Podcast, RW Podcast 1 on Twitter, Reasonable Wrestling Podcast everywhere else. Myself, I am C McLean 89 on Twitter, CMCLEAN 89. At Joint Roller Ayatollah on Instagram, at Joint Ayatollah on Twitter. Instagram, I'm on DFB 1989. You know, that's where we at. You know what I mean? And I'll be putting up this. I'm doing some on our SoundCloud. I'll be putting up different poetry joints that I'll be doing every so often when I feel like it. Like I dropped the JCP joint. Shout out to Jim Crockett when he passed away. I had one in a tuck that I had already wrote back in the day that I never felt confident putting out, and I did just to support him and show love to him and his contributions. So I did JCP. That's on my SoundCloud. And like you say, you brought up the Finn Balor. I just did a Ben Balor joint that I had wrote. Like you say, I heard Westside Guns, Hitler Wears Hermes 5, and he has a track on there called Finn Balor. And that track is just so melodic. It's just so fire. And none of his wrestling themed tracks have anything to do with wrestlers. So that's what my goal was going to be. So every wrestler name track that he has, I was going to write to it. So that was what I started. That's how I ended up doing this wrestling rap thing. So I did a John Cena joint. I did a Chris Benoit joint. I did a Dean Malenko joint. I did the Finn Balor. I did a Taker versus Goldberg one. Like, So that got me in the wave of that. But that Finn Balor, I dropped the Den Balor one. And I got a few other ones. I think I'm gonna drop this Chris Hero joint that I did because I feel like I'm kind of like Chris Hero, Muhammad like. You know what I mean? So that's probably gonna be my next joint that I drop in, or Mikey Whip Rap. I've been kind of working shopping some Mikey Whip Rap joint because, a lot of people, got Amazing Red as their favorite, but don't know who his trainer is. You know what I mean? So, shout out to Mikey Rip Rap, and he was built from Buffalo, so he's a hometown guy. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's it, man. I've been I said I was gonna drop an exclusive one, so I might even record after I get done with you and drop it, or I might drop it here or whatever. But I said I felt like doing something new today, so I was gonna do something. I'm gonna put one out today, just because you highlighted me. You know what I mean? I gotta show people why you highlighted me. You know what I mean?
Of course, man. You guys can follow him on Twitter. I got it up right now on the screen, and it's going to be in the live chat on Twitch, Periscope, wherever. Make sure you guys give him some love, show him some love, tell him EPW sent you. And with that being said, this is it for me. For Chris, Chris, do you have any other shout outs you want to give?
Oh, no, man. Yo, thank you, Conrad, again, my guy. Listen, your last name, yo, come on. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, come on. No, I definitely do appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me. I'm about to go check out from being an infamous poet to being a daddy. So, it's like a time clock thing. You know what I mean? So thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys for rocking with us. We're out. Join me tomorrow as I review AEW Dynamite. After the show ends at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hop in the chat. Come talk some pro wrestling with me and Derek. We will be live on this YouTube channel once again. For myself and Chris, we're out. Peace.